Hello, I'm Sonia Wood from Oikos, and here we are in June. In South Africa, where we are, it is winter in June. Now, I know you might be watching this from some other part of the world and it's not your winter. But in the May clips, I was sharing about seasons. Thank you to those of you who watched that. There was quite an interest. So I'm going to continue on the theme of seasons. And as it's winter, I'm sure you all agree, we think of hot coffee and hot chocolate and marshmallows and fireplaces. So we're going to start with some coffee. I normally have tea with you, but it's winter now, so we're here anyway. And so I'm going to have some coffee with you. And while I'm having this coffee, I'd like to share with you the autumn years. Actually, I know it's winter, but just before winter we have autumn, obviously. And I was speaking to one of the Oikos team members, so I'm going to be quoting her. Because she said, why don't I chat to the people about the autumn years, the people in their autumn years? Not the autumn as the season in nature, but more people in their autumn years. So let me talk to you a little bit about that. If we think of the children being the spring years and young parents being summer, and then we move on to the autumn years, I suppose you could say that I'm in my early autumn years because our children are adults. And then after the autumn years comes winter. And then there's the elderly in their winter years. So I want to just chat a little bit to you about this. The people in their autumn years, before we move on to winter as we are in the winter season right now, being June. The Oikos team member that I was talking to was sharing with me how important these autumn years are and how important it is for those in their spring and summer season of their life to share their spring and summer with those in their autumn years. And so as I'm focusing on autumn now, I have these photos here. I'm going to keep them here for all of our June clips because these are photographs of our children's grandparents and my own grandfather. This being Greg, my husband's parents, and this being my own parents, being the grandparents of our children. And we are just very, very blessed by these people. I would just want to honor them here because of the many, many pearls of wisdom they have shared with us over the years. But I also want to encourage you to say that that didn't just happen by itself. We were intentional about it. They were and we were. And so in these clips, I'm going to be encouraging you to be intentional about attending to those in their autumn years and even those in their winter years. And that is why I've put these few items here to share with you through these June clips. To bring reference to them. This little box, for an example, is just a little cardboard box that Missy, our daughter, covered and made pretty and used a potato actually and cut a design on the potato and put it into paint. So these are potato prints. And this little box now can be taken with to visit those in their autumn years. And in the box, you can put anything. You can put a little craft. I mean, in this little box, we've got some crocheting, some wool and a crochet hook. And if you don't know how to crochet, you can perhaps go to Google or you can go to those in their autumn years with a little box and you can sit and have some coffee or tea with them and ask them to share a craft with your children. And what you're doing by spending time doing that intentionally is what is happening is the children are being a blessing to those in their autumn years because they're bringing spring to those in the autumn years. And the children are being blessed because they are receiving something from those that are older and wiser than them. And of course, I'm sure you're going to know what crafts and skills that these people in their autumn years, those that are in your lives, have to offer your children and yourself. For an example, I've used crocheting as an example, knitting is another one. These now obviously specific for Granny to be teaching the children. But then there's Grandpa. We don't forget about Grandpa and the elderly as well, or Granddad or Opa, whichever he is, whatever he's referred to in your home and household. So I put this asterisk book here to remind me to tell you about the fact that our grandpa over here, who's fondly known as Bumpy, he loves asterisks, and our son loved asterisks. So when we went to visit Bumpy, what went along was an asterisk book. And in actual fact, we've just recently been to visit them. Now, they are almost in their 90s. In fact, he is 90. Greg's father's 90 this year. And when we go to visit them, what does our son James, who's now an adult, what does he do? He takes along an asterisk book because he knows that his Bumpy enjoys asterisks. Now, that might seem insignificant, but it's not. because these are memories and they are valuable and they are precious and they are to be treasured. That is why I'm sharing them with you. Another example that can happen, well, before I just whip this away and you wonder what it is, it's actually one of those pull-through carpet maker kits. This is just one of a tiger. So now the reason why I put this here was to remind me to tell you that sometimes when we went to visit the elderly, it can be tiresome for the little ones. And so what I would do is I would take a little craft. I'd either take something for those in the autumn years to teach and train the little ones or the younger children, or I would take a craft for them to sit and do while we were visiting so that they were involved in something, so they didn't become tired and wanting to go home. And so it became, the whole atmosphere was one of a blessing to everybody rather than it becoming something tiresome. Okay, and I also put this here, just put this here, to show you that the knitting needle bag. I put this for a few reasons. First of all, for it to be a craft, for you to sit and make a little bag like this. It's very simple. Or maybe you have noticed that Granny or Oma needs a needle bag. And so you can make one for her, or the children, and you can make one for her, and you can take it as a gift the next time you go to visit. Just putting these things here, because these are just examples of our own life and of the value that we have gathered from spending time with those in their autumn years. In fact, so much so that they've taught us how we are too can prepare for our own autumn years one day. So there is a lot to gain from these autumn years of those in our lives. So thank you for stopping by, and I'm looking forward to sharing some more with you about these seasons and the seasons of our lives in our next June clip. Bye.